Hey, want to hear me tell a lie?
I upload videos every Thursday. Be sure to subscribe to see more videos every Thursday. I upload new videos every Thursday. I'm uploading weekly videos this year every Thursday.
As it turns out, I cannot upload consistent videos on Thursday for whatever reason, so I'm editing that statement to be, I try to upload new videos every week. This is now my official statement on the upload schedule. That is all, thank you, enjoy the video. Well, this summer certainly hasn't turned out like I expected it to. I ended up having to move and spent almost a month out of town on top of that, which basically ate all the time I had for making videos. However, I'm finally getting around to editing this one I filmed before all that. So without further ado, here is the second episode of Waterfall Wanderer. This episode takes us to a waterfall quite unlike Hemlock Falls, which was featured in the previous and first episode of this series, which was rated as, quote, good in Waterfall Hikes of North Georgia, although now that I have the book, it appears that we never even got to the big falls on that trail, so take the previous video with a grain of salt.
I thought it would be bigger.
As today we'll be visiting Raven Cliff Falls, which has a, quote, spectacular rating in said book. Does it deserve this rating? Well, let's find out. We begin our journey in one of my favorite places on Earth, the North Georgia Mountains, more specifically the Chattahoochee National Forest, which should clarify that this is the Raven Cliff Falls in Georgia and not South Carolina, although those falls do look fantastic and I would love to see them. The drive in was not terrible, however, the parking situation was abhorrent. There is not nearly enough parking space for the popularity of these trails, as people were lining the sides of the mountain road all the way to the trailhead. The area seems to be quite a popular camping spot for both car camping and backpacking, as there were campers everywhere. Joined by Caleb and Grant, we ventured on through the thick greenery over wooded bridges and under lush canopies, and after much navigational deliberation, we eventually arrived at the first waterfall. The first waterfall on this trail is a small tiered sluice waterfall that, although wasn't overly exciting, was enough to whet our appetite for the rest of the trail to come.
Hey, what would you give the first waterfall out of 10? Seems like a solid, 4 or 5. I'm thinking 6. That's pretty good. I'm thinking 6.
After getting up close and personal with the first waterfall, we meandered on past a few smaller waterfalls that were listed as side waterfalls in the book. I took time to look for salamanders and participate in the rivergoer's art of rock stacking. Like Dipper Pines with his journal, I followed the book's guidance to the second waterfall, which was much more exciting than the first.
I don't think that's it. What do you think? Because it says it's 15 feet in a tiered sluice. That is none of those things. Hey Grant, is that a 15-foot tiered sluice waterfall? What? What? Do you think that's the second waterfall? What? I'm gonna slap you, you can absolutely hear me. What?
This waterfall had a cliff with a medium-sized drop and could be accessed above and below said cliff. Caleb and I both scrambled over the rocks and touched the actual falls.
Alright, this is the second fall. This one is a lot better than the first one.
As we journeyed on the root-covered trail, I read in the book about the intense logging practices that shaped this area and Raven Cliff Falls especially. The trail itself, as with many North Georgia trails, is an old railroad bed. This area was heavily logged, and non-sustainable practices led to a weak gene pool for the trees and rampant forest fires caused from the sparks and heat from the steam locomotive's coal furnaces. However, thanks to the brave people that fought the fires and irresponsible logging practices, today we have lush, temperate forests that make hikes like this that much more enjoyable. As we ascended the mountain, we ended up on the rim of the third waterfall. According to the author of the book, Jim Parham, many people think that this particular waterfall is often mistaken for the big falls at the end of the hike, and I can absolutely see why. In comparison to the first two, it's a giant. We hiked down and experienced the falls from the base to get a better feel for the falls, and let me say, it was gorgeous. Something about this one just felt relaxing, as we took a beef jerky break and touched the falls for research purposes, of course.
Touch it. Yeah! How'd it feel? A lot of algae on this rock. That wasn't working.
Like the stubborn idiots we were, Caleb and I were determined to take the difficult way out, requiring us to actually climb instead of simply hike the trail.
Yeah, go ahead. There it is. Yeah.
After that, there was only one stop left, Raven Cliff Falls themselves. When we first approached the falls, to be honest, I was a bit underwhelmed, as these are a unique set of falls. Raven Cliff Falls has a total height of 170 feet, which upon hearing that you'd think it's probably quite large to look at. However, the huge cliffs take the spotlight as the falls themselves weave through the rock-faced cliffs, like the local copperheads do with smaller rocks. If you get the full picture, the falls are beautiful, but we just weren't satisfied with it. Mr. Parham says that the largest part of the falls is higher up the trail and that it is very hazardous trying to see this part. He says that the view doesn't get much better and the trail is too dangerous to attempt. Well, we disobeyed his recommendation, of course. The climb was hazardous, though, and I believe he was right to recommend most people not attempt it. We were not most people. We were more bullish this day. After getting to the top and assisting others in doing the same, our hunger for a glorious descent was finally satiated with a large, wide drop viewed from a pulpit with some temperate church, presenting a view of God's green, or in this case blue or white, or whatever color waterfalls are, earth. We trekked around the rim and approached the top of the waterfall to a small river cove and decided this is a perfect spot for lunch.
I'm not going to go any farther.
You're not? Well, I'd say if you shout enough. What do you think about this particular waterfall, Jacob?
It's a good 9 or 10 for me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the book says what? Spectacular, right?
It does?
I think I'd agree.
I would also agree.
We assembled our Enos and ate a well-earned meal. Whilst performing the taste test for the falls, I also made coffee with the local water, which, while delicious, its laxative properties made the trek down less enjoyable than the trip up. So that was the adventure. But how does it rank on the water scale? Well, we have a bit of a mixed bag, but first, since there are multiple waterfalls, we must rank them individually, then average them together. As for waterfall size, I gave the first one a 3, and the second one a 4, and the fourth one got an 8, and the last one got a 10. So that gives us a 5.75 for waterfall size. However, because the last falls are so special in the main draw, I will bump the score up 1 point to a 6.75. As for appearance, the first one is a dead average 5, the second one is a 6, the third an 8, and the last a 10 based on sheer uniqueness. That averages to 7.25. For waterfall taste, well, let me explain this one a little more.
So as we know, in the water system, or the water scale rather, one of the criteria is the taste of the water. I was a little reckless last time. I'm gonna actually filter this water. I know it changes the taste a little bit, but some of the water at the one of the falls down there was not that great. But what I'm gonna do is take the water from the source of the biggest waterfall each time, and I'm also gonna make some coffee with it. I think you're supposed to squeeze a little through just to get the filter going. I mean, the filter kind of messes with the taste a little bit, but it's real refreshing. You want some? Here, try it. Pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Isn't it good?
You want some, Grant? Tell me how different it tastes since you had it without.
Waterfalling it.
What?
Tastes plastic, yeah, it's a little bit plastic.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's got the filter flavor, but still. I give taste a 6.
I will stand by my infield decision of a 6. Trail quality is in the middle, with the bridges and the width being pluses and the abundance of roots being a bit of a detriment. Bearing this in mind, I give trail quality a 6. The hike itself was very enjoyable, with every waterfall getting better and better along the way. There are many spots to get in the river and camp, plus the ample shade grants refuge from the sunlight. The hike gets a solid 8 from me. The facilities were much better than those from Hemlock Falls, with proper bathrooms and numerous campsites, as well as paved roads. The facilities have a lot of things going for them. But unfortunately, the scarce parking trend continues for Hemlock Falls, which lands the facilities with a 6. The local area is excellent, being not very far at all from Helen, Georgia, and the various destinations around it, so I give the area an 8. Accessibility is fairly average, where there being no wheelchair accessibility, and the routes and steep inclines presenting a challenge to some hikers. Accessibility gets a dead average 5 for me. And with all our scores recorded, we end up with a 53 out of 80 or a 6.6 on the water scale, which is higher than the 5.6 that Hemlock Falls got, which, in my opinion, is accurate. The book describes Ravencliff Falls themselves as excellent, which is absolutely correct. The rating systems are arbitrary, though, as any time exploring outdoors is wonderful in its own right, and I highly recommend Ravencliff Falls to anyone. Thank you very much for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like the video and subscribe to see more content like this. If you've been to Ravencliff Falls before, tell me about it in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all next week.